All right, let's just jump right in. Today, we are unpacking one single unbelievable day, April 7th, 2026. A day when it felt like the entire world was holding its breath. It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer, when you look at this one day, is absolutely everything. You're about to see just how wildly the global story can pivot, sometimes hour by hour. So this wasn't just another Tuesday. Not even close. It was a day of just incredible contradictions. You had humanity's worst impulses clashing right up against its most amazing ambitions, all at the exact same time. And our story kicks off where so many global stories do, in the Middle East, with the world steering over the edge of a massive conflict. I mean, just look at how fast this all happened. The day starts with the US taking direct military action. By lunch, Israel and Iran are trading actual fire, a terrifying escalation. You can just imagine phones ringing in capitals around the world, everyone thinking this is it. And then, somehow, by the evening, a total 180. A ceasefire is announced. From the absolute brink of war to a fragile truce, all in a matter of hours. So here's the thing. This ceasefire wasn't just about stopping the missiles. It was about this waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. It's like a tiny bottleneck for a massive chunk of the world's oil. If that gets shut down, the global economy goes into a nosedive. So getting that reopened was priority number one for everyone. And this quote from France's foreign minister really shows you what the stakes were. We're not just talking about military bases anymore. The world was watching and basically sounding the alarm, saying, hey, this is crossing a very dangerous line. This is getting into war crime territory. That's how serious it got. Now, even when you pull back from the edge, a scare like that has consequences. And those shockwaves hit the global economy almost instantly. And check this out. This is the real-world impact right here. Thousands of miles away, in the United States, the housing market felt it. Mortgage rates shot up 0.5%. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but believe me, it was enough to put the brakes on the entire spring real estate season. People just got spooked.
What's so fascinating here is how it all connects. The threat of one little strait closing in the Middle East directly impacts homebuyers in, say, Ohio. At the same time, look over in India. They're seeing the same oil supply jitters, so their big refiners make a huge call. They postpone all their planned maintenance. Why? To keep the fuel flowing no matter what. It was a regional crisis that forced a truly global scramble.
But here's the wild part. While all of this drama was unfolding down on the ground, a completely different story, a completely different perspective was being witnessed from a place very, very few people have ever been. Just think about that for a second. While countries were on the verge of war, the crew of NASA's Artemis II mission was literally orbiting the moon. And on this exact same day, they saw a total solar eclipse from space. Can you even imagine? They talked about seeing our planet, this brilliant, living thing, with the moon passing in front of it like a perfect black hole. What an unbelievable, humbling sight, especially compared to all the chaos happening down below. And that idea, that bigger picture, brings us back down to Earth, where other stories about long-term survival and cooperation, were also playing out. So it also just so happened that April 7th was World Health Day. And the big idea being talked about was this concept called One Health. It's actually a pretty simple but really powerful idea. You can't have healthy people if you don't have healthy animals and a healthy environment. It's all connected. And it's seen as the key to stopping the next big pandemic. And this wasn't just some nice idea on a poster. Nope. On that very same day, 800 scientific institutions from all over the globe were gathered together in France working on this exact problem. While some were threatening war, hundreds of others were in a room trying to save the planet. And then there was this huge scientific achievement. In India, a super advanced nuclear reactor reached what they call criticality. That basically means it was switched on for the first time, creating a self-sustaining reaction. A huge moment that was called a defining step for the country's future energy needs. A whole nation looking decades ahead for solutions. So you've got war and peace, you've got space travel and global health summits, but that's still not the full picture. Because underneath it all, there's just the constant, messy background noise of an ordinary day on planet Earth. On this day, people were also marking 10 years since the Panama Papers leak changed how we think about money and power. At the same time, doctors across the UK walked off the job over a pay dispute, and a violent gunfight broke out in Istanbul. The day-to-day machinery of the world just keeps grinding on. And then there's this. For millions of people, the biggest news of April 7th, 2026 had absolutely nothing to do with any of that. It was that the Michigan Wolverines won the men's college basketball championship, a moment of pure joy and celebration, happening in a totally separate universe from all the geopolitical drama. So that was it. That was April 7th, 2026, a day of near misses and major breakthroughs, a day of conflict and cooperation, of cosmic beauty and very earthly problems. It really just leaves you wondering, when all of these stories are happening at once, which one actually ends up writing our future? The story that pulls us apart or the one that brings us together?